flash floods left at least 32 people dead. The incident comes as the Trump administration is making deep cuts to weather forecasting services. But how concerned are you in light of this or with the country's readiness for extreme weather right now headed into the hurricane season?
The always brilliant and insightful Reverend Al Charlatan enlightening the audience at MSDNC because NBC News pays him 7 figures to do that. The news media is driving a lot of the violence in the United States because they're Democrats. You know, that's the arrangement that they've come to. Well, very good Tuesday to you, and welcome back once again. We continue to be reachable at 888-630-9625. The Democrat Party loves death and murder. They like shooting federal law enforcement officers. They're forming militias to attack civilization, the federal government. It's an insurrection, and it is an insurrection that we're witnessing, and it's coming from the Democrat Party, obviously. And again, my friend Mancow sending along a fun meme this morning. The FBI can tell you the name of every January 6th conspirator, but not a single name of anyone from Epstein's client list. There's our FBI. The FBI can tell you. Maybe it's just the permanent bureaucracy. It's an amazing thing. Yes, it is. But this is 100% insurrection that we're witnessing, and it's a real insurrection, not the fake one, not the political one. The Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines insurrection as an act or instance of revolting against civil authority or an established government. Well, the Democrats in Texas are engaged in a violent armed insurrection. Nobody was armed except the police on January 6th on Capitol Hill. Nobody was shot except Ashley Babbitt, a young woman after serving 12 years in the U.S. Air Force honorably and not being kicked out for repeated cocaine abuse like Hunter Biden was kicked out of the Navy for repeated cocaine abuse. But the Democrat Party has created, now they're building militias, and we've got an amazing story, an absolutely amazing story out of Texas after the shooting at Texas Border Patrol, 3 injured, gunmen killed. So we've got that going for us. And then the organized attack at Alvarado, I call it Alvarado, ICE facility because that's how they pronounce it in Texas, at the Alvarado facility. And this is an absolutely stunning story, an amazing story. 11 arrested, 11 people charged, young men and young women. Body armor, rifles. They think they're organized. They attacked. ICE officers shot 1 at least, and it was a planned ambush at an ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas, on the 4th of July. No sense of irony. And before I get back to that, I want to share with you what Democrats are all about, because this is what they're all about. It sums it up pretty well. The front page of the Washington Times, your newspaper of record in Washington, D.C., has the front page story of the massive search for missing people continues after catastrophic flooding. This, of course, is out of Kerrville, Texas, and Kerr County, Texas. And the search continues, and on the front page, there's a picture of 2 little girls and their twin sisters, Hannah Lawrence and Rebecca Lawrence, 2 of the children killed in the flooding at Camp Mystic in central Texas last week. And what do the Democrats think about that? Surely they're not, and I just played you one of the Reverend Al Charlatan. Oh, it's Trump. Trump is, and it's all a lie. And he should be fired and probably gassed because of the giant lie that the Reverend Al told. Just an appalling, horrible person, the Reverend Al. But we've got the Democrats responding to the tragedy there, and we played the Reverend Al, and I've got more for you because the Democrats see this as an opportunity. They don't even wait for the bodies to be counted. They don't wait for the bodies to be found before these vicious gutter snipes turn it into a political food fight because of the filth that they are. The death toll from the catastrophic flooding in Texas over the July 4th weekend has now surpassed 104. 104. And the massive search continues for missing people, and officials warned both more deaths and further flooding is also possible. The number of deaths reached 104 on Monday. The hard-hit Kerr County, home to Camp Mystic and several other summer camps. Searchers have found the bodies of 84 people, including 28 children, Kerr County officials said. Now, with that said, you just heard the Reverend Al Charlatan, and that's NBC Network News, not local news. That's the national NBC. They're where they based at 30 Rock in New York City, and everybody knows we're there. Aren't they amazing? Now let's get to what the Democrats are up to, because this started yesterday when I saw a tweet from the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent of the United States of America, President Trump's Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, and he tweeted out today, former Treasury Secretary L.H. Summers, that's Larry Summers, he was, of course, Bill Clinton's Treasury Secretary, showed why he was forced to step down as president of Harvard, because he went from the Democrat world to the Democrat world at Harvard, where they made him president of Harvard. And Scott Bessent, the current Treasury Secretary, says today former Treasury Secretary Lawrence Summers showed why he was forced to step down as president of Harvard. A lack of humanity and judgment, he said. Then he added, in a shockingly callous interview on ABC, Professor Summers proclaimed that the one big beautiful bill will cause, quote, 2,000 days of death like we've seen in Texas this weekend. Using the horrifying situation in Texas for cheap political gain is unfathomable, Scott Bessent tweeted. Isn't that amazing? But for Democrats, it's not unfathomable at all, because this is just who they are. Now, since the Lawrence Summers, the former president of Harvard, who was forced to resign in disgrace, and the Democrat political operative, Treasury Secretary, all that, Lawrence Summers talking to ABC Fake News, and he sees that children have been killed in a tragic flood. And what is it? Never let a crisis go to waste. The filthy, awful, horrible house of ill repute, Rahm Emanuel famously said, never let a crisis go to waste. Here's Lawrence Summers with his pals at ABC Fake News with another Clinton administration official over there, George Snuffleupagus.
The biggest cut in the American safety net in history. The Yale Budget Lab estimates that it will kill, over 10 years, 100,000 people. That is 2,000 days of death like we've seen in Texas this weekend. In my 70 years, I've never been as embarrassed for my country on July 4th.
On July 4th, what do you mean when an armed passel of Democrats attacked an ICE detention facility in Texas and shot a man through the neck, and 11 of these little communist moron glassy-eyed zombies were arrested? Is that what you're filthy talking about? Wow, what is just amazing that this guy is still allowed to wander free. And he was the president of Harvard. Isn't that great? Yes, sir. He also became Barack Obama's director of the National Economic Council. He's a Democrat. He was the president of Harvard University. He was Secretary of the Treasury to Bill Clinton. And here he is. He sees this. I'm going to be giving out his address, and his home address, and where his children go to school in just a couple of minutes. I'm not really going to do that, but they do that all the time in order to threaten, for example, federal law enforcement officers. So there he is. And what is it, the Harvard Lab?
The Yale Budget Lab estimates that.
The Yale Budget Lab, they estimated, 100,000 dead over the next 10 years. That'd be 10,000 a year if I'm doing my math. I'm not the president of Harvard, but I think that's So 100,000 Americans will be killed because of these budget and what he's doing is pointing to the. It's just amazing. And the flood, the FEMA or the National Weather Service. We have to call it NWS, like Dana Bash. We call it NWS around the dinner table. And NWS said, oh, yeah, they were short-staffed because one person took a buyout at the National Weather Service. Isn't that amazing? Now, I saw that and only after I saw our current Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, calling him out for being filth, for being scum, right? But then it gets better. Because another Democrat in Virginia, a guy named Eric Bondurant. There is an actor named Eric Bondurant. I don't know if this is the same Eric Bondurant or not. But Eric Bondurant decided he lives in Bedford, Virginia. I have his home address in a minute. He posted this online, and he posted a video of himself because little girls were tragically killed in a terrible flood in Texas.
So wait, Texas has been cheering on ICE all across the country, and now y'all want sympathy for a flood?
ICE?
Have you lost your minds? No, I don't feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for the mom that had that 4-year-old ripped from her arms. That's who I feel bad for, MAGA.
Didn't happen.
You guys voted to take this National Weather Service away. You guys voted and cheered on Doe's shutting everything down. I don't care about you people.
Who voted to take the National Weather Service away? He gets his news from MSNBC and CNN, and this is what they teach, and that's why Democrats are shooting federal law enforcement now. What is he talking about ICE having to do with children being killed in a flood? And he's going on and on about ICE. Why? Isn't that amazing? And you voted, you MAGA people, you voted to have the National Weather Service taken away. It has not been taken away. A 4-year-old was not torn from a mother's arms, but you aborted 1 million children last year, literally more than 1 million, and you harvested their organs, Dr. Mengele, you Nazi filth. But there it is. 4-year-old. Didn't happen. Hasn't happened. Eric Bondurant is an angry, insane, diseased-brained liberal who's wrong about everything. Nobody voted to defund the National Weather Service. The National Weather Service has not been defunded. They were offering generous buyouts to government employees. A small number took the buyouts. One person that we can find from the National Weather Service took a buyout, which they enjoyed taking. They had 5 people in place in the station overseeing Texas when the storm came through, where they normally have 2. So that's more than twice as many, Eric Bondurant. Eric Bondurant wasn't done.
I hope you suffer worse than anyone. I hope the parents of these kids regret every day voting for Donald Trump. And I don't want to hear we don't know who they voted for. It's Texas and it's a camp. And the fact that y'all even want empathy tells me everything. You guys have cheered on everybody else's demise. Maybe it's all time we get some popcorn and watch yours.
Get popcorn and watch your children die. Because these fascist, Nazi, bloodthirsty killers, this is who they are. This is what the Democrat Party has done to millions of people in this country. And then a lady posted a video of herself. She has a pierced face. Both sides of her face are pierced. And she's black. And she's an angry racist and hates white people because Democrats teach this.
Them little girls, them people died because of racism, not politics. Boom, I said it. I don't give a f***. And I said no. Nope. Because more YT people will have to DIE in order for motherfuckers to what? CARE. We
Whitey.
voted the correct way.
Whitey.
You reap what the you sow.
Yeah. Maybe that might explain why 9,900 black people were shot and killed in the United States last year by other black people. I guess you voted for that, huh? Here's the pierced face black lady.
Y'all were okay with motherfuckers being stripped away from their families and never seeing them again. People being deported. Y'all were okay with that.
Be okay ICE
with
again.
Not finding Sarah Lou. Be okay with not finding Billy. Be okay with never seeing them again. Y'all didn't give a f*** on us brown people.
I certainly hope she's aborted all of her children. That's all I can say. Isn't that, and there's more, because we got another one who's a Democrat political appointee in Texas coming up, and well, you hear this one. They're really, this is what the Democrat Party has done to themselves and to each other and to the country. This is who the Democrat Party is. They're defined by this. You know, the big wireless people are pulling one over on all of us, and it's time to switch to consumer cellular. Listen, I switched, and I'm getting the same fast, reliable, nationwide, big wireless coverage, all the same access, same towers, and everything. But without the big wireless cost at the end of every month, it's not just about saving money on your monthly bill, although that's good. It's about not being used and abused by these big companies. Did you even know how much data you use every month? Most people over 50 use less than 8 gigs of data in a month, but big wireless companies, they shove you into an unlimited plan and tell you that's a real good idea because they need you to cover the cost of 19-year-olds that are using 10 times as much data as you, so they're redistributing your data wealth. You know, even if you're not using all that data, you are being used. And I had enough of that. I went to Consumer Cellular. Consumer Cellular set me up with a service and a phone, the greatest phone ever, easy to switch. All you have to do is call and speak to an actual human being based right here in the actual United States, not a bot on a space platform somewhere, real human beings who are helpful, and it only takes about 20 minutes. So give them a call today and make the switch at 800-760-0702. That's 800-760-0702. Yeah, I've got more Democrat love for you. So they talk a lot, don't they? I'm going to play for you today what they're thinking, what they believe. And then we'll get to the shooting part. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. There's a Democrat from Houston, Texas named Sadie Perkins. She's been appointed to boards by the Democrat mayor of Houston. She posted a video of herself about the flood and the children being killed.
I know I'm probably going to get canceled for this, but Camp Mystic is a whites-only girls' Christian camp.
No, it's not.
They don't even have a token Asian. They don't have a token black person. It is a all-white, white-only, conservative Christian camp. If you ain't white, you ain't right, you ain't getting in, you ain't going.
She's black, she's a racist, she wants a token.
You best believe, especially in today's political climate, if this were a group of Hispanic girls, especially with them being in East Texas, this would not be getting this type of coverage that they're getting. No one would give a and all these white people, the parents of these little girls, would be saying things like they need to be deported, they shouldn't have been here in the first place, and yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, they are deporting your family members. Meanwhile, they're setting up concentration camps and prisons for your family members.
Meanwhile, Democrats are shooting ICE agents and showing up in armed bands of a dozen people with body armor and rifles to kill because of that Democrat Party rhetoric, which is everywhere.
This is Gestapo-like behavior, where plainclothes officers wearing masks are terrorizing immigrants.
Democrat Congressman Dan Goldman, not to be confused with the soundbite we played yesterday of Democrat Governor Tim Walz, saying that the ICE agents are Spanish soup.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is...
You mean gazpacho? What are you
scooping folks up off the streets.
Hey, yeah, that's the Democrats. Everybody's a Nazi except the people that kill 1 million babies a year, that open our borders and wave the gang members in to kill and rape and plunder and pillage, and the Democrat Party. And by the way, Alvarado. It's not Alvarado in Texas. It's Alvarado. Alvarado ICE facility attack. 11 charged in ambush on ICE officers, officials say. And this is an extraordinary moment in American history. And the news media is treating it like it's nothing, like it's just another. You see the Democrats on the front porch in Philadelphia over the weekend firing like 400 shots, 4 guys and all the women flat on the floor of the front porch of the House, while the Democrats empty the magazines of their pistols, shooting at they don't know who. But they, like a 3-year-old girl was shot randomly by a stray bullet in Washington, D.C. over the 4th of July weekend, and the 3-year-old girl died yesterday after being shot by a Democrat. And again, about 10,000 black people are murdered every year in the United States of America, overwhelmingly by Democrats and other black people. But pay no attention to that, because the Democrats come in and they post videos. Appointees to Democrat boards in Houston, Texas, post videos of how glad they are that little girls were drowned by a flood in Texas because something about MAGA and ICE and you guys are deporting people that they'll never call what they are, illegal aliens. The Democrat Party is a criminal enterprise, and a mentally ill criminal enterprise. Now, 11 people arrested in what the police are calling a planned ambush. I want to get to that in a couple of minutes. But I tell you right now, let's go back to the telephones, shall we? And then I've got more to share with you, because these people, and just the ambush, 11 people arrested in an armed ambush. And I think that there are like 5 young men and 5 young women and 1 transgender person, because from the picture, I can't tell whether it's a boy or a girl, a man or a woman. I just know that it's a Democrat. But law enforcement officials said 10 to 12 people in black military-style clothing began shooting first fireworks at the ICE facility. 1 or 2 others broke off from the group and began to damage vehicles and spray graffiti. And the graffiti, by the way, is like "Fight the Oligarchy." So it's the Bernie Sanders wing of the Democrat Party, mainstream Democrat, violent. They're arming up. They're dressing up, and they're shooting people. Officials said the graffiti said things like "Ice Pig," and a traitor. Traitor is one of the things that they're spray painting in the graffiti, and various profanities, because, we were just beeping the audio for you of these grotesque pigs of human beings. I apologize for calling them human beings and comparing them to human beings. But they're and I was looking at the television this morning, and the number of graffiti, examples of graffiti, resist fascism, right, is their big thing. By the way, the total number of assaults on ICE officers just between January 21st, the day after Inauguration Day, and June 30th, before the 4th of July weekend, total number of assaults, 79 assaults on immigration customs enforcement officers. That is a nearly 700% increase since 2024, the same time span in 2024. 690% increase. And the reason is the Democrat Party. And here they are spray painting traitor and ICE pig and these other things, because they're Democrats. And I've got more to get to on this. But right now, let's go to the telephones, and let's go to Jason calling from Kensington. Jason, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
G'day, Chris. How you going, mate?
Yeah, I'm great, Chase. What do you know? What do you say?
A couple of things you always mention is that these people are not well, and there's no sense of irony. I mean, they definitely have a few kangaroos loose in their top paddock, that's for sure. The thing is, like this, there's no sense of irony because of you remember when Biden was in, we had a disaster down in Asheville, North Carolina, and a couple of other states, and all of a sudden, the FEMA response was about 4 or 5 days before they got down there, and then they were marking houses that were Trump supporters as to not, receive help, and everything was fine, and all of a sudden now Texas is, it's not like they haven't had floods before, but of course they incorporate the climate change, and because of Trump's cutbacks, it's going to affect the climate. It's just, these people are just, they're so low. These people are just so low they couldn't scratch a bloody snake's belly. I mean, they're awful people.
A couple of good Australianisms in that. Where were the kangaroos loose? Where were they?
In the top paddock.
In the top paddock. See, the kangaroos were loose in the top paddock. That's good, and you're absolutely right. Of course, I understand the thrust, the gist of your Australianisms, and they're fun, of course, because who else can use kangaroos in references? You can't. You can only be from one place and use that, and that's big fun. But you're right, no sense of irony, and you're right about the FEMA. And the FEMA people came forward and said, "Oh yeah, senior leadership in Joe Biden's Federal Emergency Management Agency told us to walk right by any house with a Trump sign or an American flag or a bumper sticker on the car that showed that you were pro-American, because the communists are here, the lefties are here, and boy, they are not on our side, are they, Jason?"
No, they're not, and it's like, you know what? Can we just divide the country into normal and abnormal, and right. We'll have the normal side.
And a Mel Brooks reference. That is just great. Young Frankenstein. That's great. Wonderful stuff. And excellent cultural references. That's good. And honestly, the Democrats, we had Gavin Newsom breaking away from the union with his own foreign policy and trade agreements with communist China that he was trying to pull together. We got the Democrats sleeping, the elected Democrats sleeping with Chinese spies like Eric Swalwell and Fang Fang. We had Senator Dianne Feinstein had a Chinese spy as her driver in San Francisco for 20 years before the FBI bothered to make her aware. Our country is just scrod, which is a kind of fish. It's kind of fish.
Yeah. They're, like I said, they're like dead mullets, these people. They just, I can't bloody, like I said, it's just, sometimes you just want to move somewhere where it's normal, where they just can't bug you anymore. But, I mean, the problem is we're in the belly of the beast where we live, and
there we are.
You've got to deal with it every day.
I think we should give them California. They can go there and just kill everybody, just shoot everybody, which is what they're doing now. And then maybe we'll walk in and take it back once you've all killed each other. But the left is here. And Jason, you're a learned man. The communists murdered more than 100 million people in the 20th century. And they're here now. The left is here now.
Yep.
And they're still in the organizing phase.
Yeah, they embrace that. I mean, they embrace communism. They just, like I said, it's just amazing. You just don't know what goes on in these people's thick skulls. You just don't know what's going on there.
Pretty disturbing. Isn't it?
But, well, thanks again, Chris, for doing what you do and keeping up the fight. Some of us have got to dig in and just hopefully come out the other side somewhat normal.
Yeah, normal. Yeah. Well, we have Remember Normal T-shirts and Remember Normal coffee mugs because years ago we saw that the very idea of normal was slipping away or being stripped away from our culture by the vicious, mentally ill, demented, gender fluid left. Now that's just scratching the surface on him, isn't it?
It sounds kind of nasty, gender fluid. I just can't fix that.
Somebody get the garden hose. We got some gender fluid over here.
Get some gender fluid. Yep. Clean up an aisle too. Yep.
There you go, Jason. Thanks, buddy. Good talking to you. Great. We have Jason is a great artist. We have his painting of the late great Mike McKay in our studio here. Jason's great. Old friend of the show and just a great American. Used to be a great Australian. Now he's a great American. Thanks, Jace. Now, let's go to the next Democrat madness because I was just talking about one of the acts of Democrat violence. Again, Democrats shot 55 people in Chicago over the 4th of July weekend. 55 people. Democrats opened fire in downtown Philadelphia on a front porch of a row house with a bunch of women and girls dropping to the ground, hoping to not be shot. And the number of shots fired, I think, might be impossible to calculate based on here's the audio of the Democrats just having a nice front porch barbecue. And then somebody came by and the so-called men stood up and started shooting. This black woman from Houston didn't have anything to say about this. That's not fireworks. This is all gunfire in a residential neighborhood in Philadelphia. The girls and the women are flat on the floor on the front porch of the row house in Philadelphia because they knew that there were Democrats there, and they keep shooting everybody. Aren't handguns illegal in Philadelphia? Aren't they like in every Democrat city? All right, now let's go to, because that's what the Democrats do. Let's go back to the Alvarado ICE facility attack. 11 people charged, and they are, you got to see the pictures. I think we can post the pictures. We've got Cameron Arnold of Dallas, Texas. Savannah Batten, presumably a woman, Fort Worth, Texas. Nathan Bauman, College Station, Texas. Zachary Evans of Waxahachie, Texas. Joy Gibson of Dallas, Texas. Bradford Morris of Dallas, Texas. Maricela Rueda of Fort Worth, a woman presumably. Seth Sykes of Kennendale, Texas. Elizabeth Soto, presumably a woman of Fort Worth, Texas. Inez Soto, presumably a woman of Fort Worth, Texas. And they're now facing 10 years to life in prison. And this is not the Philadelphia episode. This is Texas, because these people attacked an ICE facility, mostly said to be from the North Texas. And, boy, I got to tell you, Alvarado police officer was shot and expected to survive, but the Democrats showed up. And let's go to, a news reporter there. You want to go there? I'd go to 11. Okay, we'll go to 11. Let's go to the acting U.S. attorney there, Nancy Larson, President Trump's U.S. attorney, acting U.S. attorney, explaining what happened.
Late at night on July 4th, Friday night at approximately 10:37 p.m. at the Prairieland ICE Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas, 10 to 12 individuals dressed in black military-style clothing began shooting fireworks and engaging in acts of vandalism at the facility. And this was part of an organized attack.
Part of an organized attack of approximately 12 individuals, male and female, from the photos, I'd say in their 20s, but they all look like they've been rode hard and put up wet. Nobody particularly appealing. This is the one I want to marry my daughter. No, there's probably not that. The acting U.S. attorney there is Nancy Larson.
Today, my office has charged 10 individuals with 3 counts of attempted murder of a federal officer. Each of the 10 are also charged with 3 counts of discharging a firearm in relation to a crime of violence. Each of these defendants faces a mandatory prison term of 10 years and up to life in prison.
Let's throw them in. The who's go, in the can. They like it in the can, don't they? And you look at the pictures, and most of them you say, yeah, I think like it in the can. Ms. Larson, U.S. Attorney.
Let's discuss the incident. It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers. Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest. It was indeed an ambush.
It was indeed an ambush, and now they're arming up and forming groups and body armor, male and female. This is the net result, the final result of Occupy Wall Street and the rest. Now, let's go to, let's see. Oh, yeah, number 9. Number 9, because there was a second armed attack on law enforcement, also in Texas. Shooting at Texas Border Patrol office, 3 injured, gunman killed, local news reporter.
The armed shooter today was shot in McAllen, Texas, after opening fire on Border Patrol agents. It comes just days after Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal recently said she gets, quote, inspired when activists obstruct ICE. Does the White House expect Democrats to tone down their rhetoric in light of what we saw today in McAllen, Texas?
We certainly call on Democrats to tone down their rhetoric against ICE and Border Patrol agents who, again, are everyday men and women. I would encourage AOC and other Democrats to actually meet with the United States Border Patrol. These are honorable Americans who are just simply trying to do their job to.
That was, of course, the White House press briefing, my mistake, and the wonderful White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. And then Tom Homan, our border czar, was asked about it as well.
I've been warning about this for 2 months. The ramped-up rhetoric is going to cause a situation where someone loses their life. We saw that today. I was hoping I'd be wrong, but I wasn't. And I'll tell you something else. It's not the end. Unless we stop the hateful rhetoric against ICE and Border Patrol, comparing them to Nazis, there's going to be more situations like that.
Yeah, everybody's a Nazi, everybody's a fascist. That's the end of democracy. And the news media is perpetuating this. The news media is fanning the flames of this. MSDNC and CNN are guilty as hell. They literally have blood. Well, not literally blood on their hands, but you know they do have blood on their hands in the metaphorical sense. Truly extraordinary stuff. The Democrat Party. Boy, they're not what they used to be, huh?
A rally a day keeps the fascists away.
What do we do about that Democrat Party? It should be banned, made illegal. Trump should announce today that the Democrat Party is illegal. That'd be hilarious, wouldn't it? Then he could say, just kidding. But a bunch of them might self-immolate in the interim. Let's go to the telephones. Let's go to the great Sylvie, calling from Waldorf, Maryland. Sylvie, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris, I know I don't have that much time, but I just came from the UK and got two things to report. Number one, Edinburgh Castle. The pride flag was flying high on Edinburgh Castle when we were there, which I was a bit disappointed. I don't think even King Charles II, the former Charles Stuart, as flamboyant as he was, would be approving on that. He would be rolling in his grave. But also Turnberry, Scotland. We went to the Trump golf course, and the entire town is employed at the golf course, or at least 90% of the town, and they are such big supporters of the president over there. And in Belfast, Northern Ireland, on the day that Alligator Alcatraz was going on here, they had Sky News on in one of the pubs that we were in, and one of these Ulster guys who's like in his 70s, he went through the troubles, as a young child and everything. He stands up and says, "Yes, that's the way to do it. That's the way you got to do it. No more Shankill Road," things like that, referring to the troubled neighborhoods. I mean, there's a lot of support for the president back in little enclaves of the different countries that we went to. So I just wanted to let you know about that.
That's great stuff. I love the turn of phrase, one of the pubs we went into in Belfast. That's Belfast, known for pubs. My best girl and I, Belfast, just last year in some of the pubs there, too. Wonderful report. Thank you, Sylvie.